He didn't cry loudly. He didn't run to anyone. He didn't even ask for help. But his eyes said everything. And the moment people noticed the way Punch was sitting there, completely still, trying so hard to hide what he felt, everyone understood the same painful thing. Something inside little Punch was breaking. That morning at the zoo looked ordinary at first. The other monkeys were busy with their own little worlds. Some were grooming each other peacefully. Others were moving around, waiting for food, completely focused on themselves. Even the caretaker was nearby, scattering food across the enclosure, giving the group something to rush toward. Everything looked normal. Everything looked familiar. Everything looked like just another day. But not for Punch, because while the others moved, climbed, reached, and gathered around the food, Punch stayed behind, sitting low beneath the fence, small and quiet, with his tiny body curled inward as if he wanted to make himself disappear. He wasn't making a scene. That was the heartbreaking part. Punch wasn't begging for attention. He wasn't throwing a tantrum. He wasn't chasing after anyone. He just sat there, still, silent. And if you looked only for a second, you might have thought he was simply resting. But if you looked a little longer, if you really looked into his face, you could see it. The sadness, the heaviness, the look in his eyes that said he was trying with everything he had not to fall apart. And maybe that was what made the moment so painful. Because Punch was trying to be strong. He was trying not to show how much it hurt. He was trying not to let anyone see the loneliness sitting quietly inside him. But his eyes betrayed him. They always do. There was no anger in them, no mischief, no playful spark. Only a softness that felt too heavy for such a little monkey to carry. A softness that looked almost like disappointment, like he had hoped for something and slowly realized it was not coming. The others barely noticed him. Why would they? Food had just been scattered across the ground. The group was distracted. The enclosure was full of small movements and familiar routines. Life around Punch kept moving forward like nothing was wrong. And maybe that made it even sadder, because loneliness always feels deeper when the whole world keeps moving, as if your pain does not exist. Punch lowered his head for a moment, then slowly lifted it again. He looked toward the others, not with curiosity, not with excitement, but with a quiet expression that almost felt like longing, as if he wanted to go closer, as if he wanted to be part of it, as if he wanted someone to notice him without him having to ask. But he didn't move. He only watched, and in that moment Punch looked so small, so separated, so painfully alone. The caretaker continued scattering food in the background, unaware of what was happening in the corner of the enclosure. The other monkeys kept gathering, eating, shifting around one another. The whole scene was alive with motion, but Punch remained still, like a tiny heart stuck in one place while the rest of the world carried on. And maybe that is why this moment hurt so much, because it did not look dramatic. It looked real. This was not loud pain. It was quiet pain, the kind that tries to hide itself, the kind that hopes maybe no one will notice, the kind that says, "I'm okay," even when everything inside feels heavy. And somehow that made Punch even more heartbreaking to watch. He blinked slowly. His eyes looked damp, not with huge, dramatic tears, just enough to make you wonder how long he had been holding it all in, just enough to make you feel that whatever he was feeling, he had been carrying it alone. And then something happened. Punch turned his face slightly, as if he did not want anyone to see him like that, as if even in sadness, he was still trying to protect himself, still trying to hide the truth, still trying to act like nothing was wrong. But by then, it was already too late, because the truth was written all over him, in the way he sat, in the way he avoided the others, in the way he looked down instead of reaching out, and most of all, in those eyes, those small, quiet, aching eyes, the kind of eyes that don't just show sadness. They show a little heart trying to hold itself together. And the hardest part was this. Punch did not look like he wanted food. He did not even look like he wanted attention. He looked like he wanted comfort. The kind of comfort that cannot be thrown across the ground. The kind of comfort that does not come from routines. The kind of comfort that only comes when someone truly sees your pain and chooses to come closer. But in that moment, nobody came. Not yet. And so Punch stayed there beneath the fence, silent and still, trying his best to hide what he felt from everyone around him. Trying to be brave, trying to stay quiet, trying not to let the sadness win. But his eyes had already told the whole story. For a while, nothing changed. Punch stayed under the fence, almost hidden from the rest of the enclosure. The world around him kept moving, the sound of food hitting the ground, the quick footsteps of monkeys rushing closer, the quiet movements of the caretaker in the background. Everything around Punch had energy. Everything around him had purpose. But Punch looked like he had none. He sat there with his tiny hands close to his body, his shoulders rounded, his face lowered just enough to make it seem like he didn't want anyone to look too closely. And that was the saddest part, because when Punch is happy, he wants to be seen. He looks around. He reacts. He watches everything. But today, he looked as if being seen would hurt even more. As if he was afraid someone might notice his sadness and still walk away. A few monkeys came closer to the food scattered across the ground. One passed near Punch, then another. For a second, it almost looked like one of them might stop. But nobody did. They moved past him like he was just part of the background. And Punch didn't even try to follow. He only watched them go. That tiny look on his face said more than any loud cry ever could. It was the look of someone who wanted to be included, but no longer believed he would be. The caretaker continued working in the distance, throwing food gently across the enclosure so every monkey could eat. And maybe, from far away, it all looked fair. Everyone had food. Everyone had space. Everyone had something to do. But emotions do not work like that. Sometimes the body has everything it needs, while the heart still feels completely empty. And that seemed to be what was happening to Punch. The food was right there. The group was right there. The caretaker was right there. But somehow, Punch still looked alone. He slowly blinked again. His eyes still wet, still heavy, still full of something he could not explain. And maybe that is why this moment felt so different from his other sad moments. Because this time, Punch was not reaching out. He was not trying to run toward someone. He was not making his pain obvious. He was hiding it, quietly, carefully, like a little monkey who had learned that sometimes showing pain does not bring comfort fast enough. So instead, he swallowed it. He sat with it. He tried to disappear with it. But then, something shifted. Not in Punch, not yet, but somewhere behind him. One of the older monkeys lifted his head. Just for a moment. He wasn't rushing to the food like the others. He wasn't playing. He wasn't fighting for attention. He simply looked across the enclosure, and his eyes stopped on Punch. It was Sotamaru. At first, it was barely noticeable. Just a quiet glance. A small pause. But then Sotamaru did not look away. He kept watching, as if he had seen something in Punch that the others missed. Something in the way Punch sat. Something in the way his face dropped. Something in those tired, painful eyes. Sotamaru didn't need Punch to cry loudly. He didn't need him to ask for help. He didn't need a dramatic moment. He just saw him. And sometimes, being seen is the first thing that saves you. Punch still did not move. He had no idea that someone was watching him now. He stayed under the fence, quiet and small, his eyes following the other monkeys from a distance. But Sotamaru kept looking. And then slowly, very slowly, Sotamaru began to move. Not fast, not suddenly, not like a rescue anyone would notice immediately. Just one calm step, then another. The kind of movement that almost felt too quiet for such an emotional moment. But that is what made it powerful. Because Sotamaru did not rush in like a hero. He came closer like someone who understood that a broken heart can be scared by sudden movements. He came slowly, patiently, carefully. The other monkeys barely noticed him walking. The caretaker in the background continued feeding the group. Visitors might have been watching the louder monkeys, the ones moving and eating and climbing. But the real story was happening in the quiet corner. The story was in the old monkey who had noticed the silent pain, and the little monkey who was still trying to hide it. Sotamaru came closer. Punch finally sensed movement nearby. His tiny head lifted slightly. At first, he looked almost unsure, like he expected someone to pass by again, like he expected nothing to happen. But this time, the movement stopped beside him. Sotamaru had come all the way over, and for a few seconds, neither of them did anything. Punch looked down. Sotamaru looked at him. No noise, no drama, just silence. But that silence felt full of emotion. It felt like Sotamaru was saying something without words. I saw you. I know you're hurting. You don't have to hide it from me. Punch did not immediately lean into him. He did not suddenly become happy. That would have been too easy, too simple. Real sadness does not disappear in 1 second. Instead, Punch stayed still, almost like he was trying to decide whether it was safe to believe this moment was real, whether it was safe to trust that someone had actually come for him. And then Sotamaru did something small, so small that it could be missed if you looked away. He moved closer, just a little, enough to close the distance, enough to make sure Punch was no longer sitting by himself. And that tiny movement changed the whole feeling of the scene, because Punch was still sad. But now he was not sad alone. Sotamaru sat beside him quietly. He didn't force Punch to move. He didn't pull him away. He didn't demand anything from him. He simply stayed close. And sometimes that is the one thing a lonely heart needs most. Not someone trying to fix everything. Not someone making the pain disappear immediately. Just someone willing to sit in the sadness with you. Punch's eyes slowly moved toward Sotamaru. For the first time, there was a tiny change in his face. Not happiness, not excitement, but something softer, almost relief, like the part of him that had been holding everything and finally realized. Someone noticed, someone came, someone stayed, and that was when the whole moment became even more heartbreaking. Because Punch had tried so hard to hide his pain. But Sotamaru saw it anyway. He saw it in the silence. He saw it in the stillness. He saw it in the eyes Punch could not control. And instead of ignoring it, he answered with presence. The food continued being scattered in the background. The other monkeys kept moving. The enclosure remained busy. But for Punch, everything had changed. Because even though the world was still moving around him, he was no longer invisible inside it. Sotamaru gently lowered his head closer to Punch, not touching him too much, not overwhelming him, just close enough to show warmth, close enough to tell him he did not have to keep pretending. And Punch's body slowly softened. His shoulders dropped a little. His eyes looked less lost. His tiny hands relaxed near his body. It was not a big transformation, but it was real. And sometimes the real moments are the quietest ones. The ones where you see a tiny animal stop carrying the whole weight alone. The ones where sadness does not disappear, but becomes easier to survive because someone else has finally seen it. Punch had tried to hide everything that day. He had tried to sit quietly, tried not to ask for help, tried not to show how much it hurt, but his eyes gave him away. And maybe that was exactly what saved him. Because Sotamaru saw those eyes, and he understood. And maybe that is what made this moment so emotional. Punch never asked for help. He never made a sound. He never tried to make everyone look at him. He simply sat there, under the fence, hiding the sadness he did not know how to explain. But Sotamaru saw it anyway. He saw the pain in Punch's eyes. He saw the way his little body stayed frozen while the world moved around him. He saw the quiet sadness that everyone else had missed. And instead of walking past, Sotamaru stayed. That small act changed everything. Because sometimes, when someone is hurting, they don't need a big rescue. They don't need noise. They don't need everyone to gather around. Sometimes they just need one soul to notice. One gentle presence to come closer. One quiet reminder that they are not completely alone. Punch slowly looked down again. But this time it felt different. He was still quiet, still soft, still emotional. But the loneliness around him did not feel as heavy anymore. Because now, beside him, Sotamaru remained. Calm, patient, protective. As if he was telling Punch without a... Punch's eyes told the truth before he ever could. They told us he was tired. They told us he felt alone. They told us he needed someone. And Sotamaru understood. By the end, Punch was not suddenly playful. He did not jump up and forget everything. Real pain does not disappear that quickly. But he looked calmer, safer, a little less alone. And sometimes, that is enough. Sometimes the smallest comfort can save the heaviest heart. And that day, Punch tried to hide his pain from everyone. But his eyes gave him away. And thankfully, Sotamaru was there to see it.